We are here 3 days before the 2014 Ottawa municipal election to discuss not a new idea, but one that was re-energized in this campaign. I'm going to get right to the speakers so that you can hear their vision. Today is one for good ideas that just make sense and have vision, a simple vision of using existing rail infrastructure on some of the Western transit issues that face Ottawa. Ready to be for DND to move in 4 short years, and to get a train from CARP to transfer at Bayview to LRT1, you could basically take a train as far as CARP to Blair Road in as little as 4 or 5 years. We have 4 speakers today, each of them who have a depth of knowledge as to the vision which is totally complementary to LRT Phase 1, 2, and 3. And these speakers form the community of the National Capital Engineers and Knowledge Workers. They would like to give their 2 cents on using existing rail infrastructure that is currently very underutilized in the City of Ottawa. We hope to change that. 5 above-grade bridges, rail bed tracks, switches, established and already environmentally assessed rights of way that have been part of your community for over 40 years. A rail line runs through the heart of my ward and is actually the ward boundary line between my ward and Keith's ward. We need LRT for the core, but we can use commuter rail for rural and suburb areas and use what we already have invested in and built on what is sitting there not being used in a very short time frame and on a proven existing equipment platform like the O-Train. In this clip, the B-roll the media wishes to use to post this event, this is the only train once a week that travels from the Rideau Yards through the city to Arnprior and returns once a week. A 3-car freight train that is the benefactor of this huge infrastructure investment. Ottawa is the only city in North America that does not use existing commuter rail infrastructure to transport its citizens into the city. You need light rail in the core. Again, this is not disruptive to LRT Phase 1, 2, or 3. But with the resounding success of the already proven O-Train, it just makes sense.
Many studies have illustrated the severe negative impact of traffic congestion on urban areas and have shown a well-designed transit system not only helps relieving traffic congestion, but is a key economic driver for that community. This is especially true for the many dispersed communities within Ottawa and the surrounding area. We want them to advance their economic development by attracting progressive companies. Efficient and effective transportation is critical to attracting them, as they want transportation for their workers as well as to be part of a vibrant community. Ottawa's Master Transportation Plan is intended to provide the coordination and integration of all modes of transportation. It therefore needs to include the use of existing rail facilities to provide passenger service to all communities within the Greater Ottawa area not served by OLRT. Waiting decades to provide passenger service to these outlying suburbs deprives them of vital infrastructure necessary to attract companies and businesses to their community. Waiting isn't an option. Errors and delays in planning new rail transportation can have dire economic consequences and limit the economic viability or vitality of communities like Canada, Barrhaven, Orleans. With the movement of D&D to the former Nortel campus, there will be thousands of passengers commuting from Orleans and across the city to the western part of Ottawa, including its high-tech companies. Should they have to wait decades for efficient and effective passenger rail service when viable passenger rail service can be provided? Other benefits for the community include linking some of our sporting stadiums so people across the city can use passenger rail to get to and from entertainment and sporting events. Imagine going to a hockey game using passenger rail, getting on at Blair and arriving at the Canadian Tire Centre. Of course, this would require a spur line to connect the Canadian Tire Centre to the existing rail line in Canada. And imagine doing this without cost to the taxpayer. There is a gap in Ottawa's current master transportation plan where Ottawa's light rail ends and the provision of passenger rail service to surrounding communities. Use of existing rail facilities should be given full consideration to complement OLRT. The O train has shown this will work. In summary, I'd like to thank Guy Annable for taking the time to promote public transportation to serve all of the Ottawa region. Thank you.
To Bell's Corners, to our part of the city, sooner and at the lowest possible cost. On a professional level, as engineer, I have worked for over 20 years with two large international companies. ABB with headquarters in Switzerland and Alstom with headquarters in Paris, France. Alstom is best known for their high-speed trains, the TGV, which also operates out of the Washington, D.C., New York corridor. As Vice President of Engineering, my teams and I engineered and delivered many transit projects in Ontario, Quebec, and the USA. These included for Toronto, TTC and GO Transit, for Montreal, the commuter service for their South Shore commuter rail service, as well as the Montreal Metro. In the USA, my teams and I completed projects for Boston, for New York City Metro North, as well as for Caltrain out of San Jose, California, for their service to Silicon Valley. What's interesting is that all of these transit authorities look for innovative ways to reduce the cost for these infrastructure projects by using and reusing as much as possible existing capital equipment. I'd like to congratulate Guy Annable for his vision in bringing all-day passenger service to Bell's Corners without interfering with the present LRT1 nor the LRT2 projects, and if we do it right, at no cost to the taxpayer. In contrast, the incumbent for College Ward, Rick Chiarelli, voted, approved, and awarded an LRT contract under Bob Chiarelli, only to vote against it under Mayor O'Brien, costing you and me, the taxpayer, well over $30 million.
We'd like to explain that there is a private sector option that is complementary to all of the various transit plans that candidates have spoken about in this election. A quick introduction first. Moose Inc. is a federally incorporated firm with a dual purpose: property value optimization for investors and metropolitan scale transit service for the greater National Capital Region. Myself, I'm President and General Manager of Mobility, Ottawa Outaouais Systems and Enterprises Inc., or Moose Inc. for short. All of us live in the greater National Capital Region. We live, work, play region-wide. That region is spread across two provinces, and within that there are a number of existing rail lines. We've identified 3 lines for operation. Now, Ottawa comprises the largest part of the Ontario side of the greater National Capital Region, but it interacts on a daily basis, on a routine basis, with all the surrounding areas. There's OLRT Stage 1 and OLRT Stage 2, which are fully complementary to use of the existing railways throughout the region. There's 400 kilometers of track that we intend to use. And this connects all of the locations throughout the region whose names you're going to be familiar with. Everyone will say this can't be done. We say it can't be done alone. It can be done working together. For example, let's talk about the most important 1 kilometer section of this 400 kilometers. The Prince of Wales Bridge, not far from City Hall here, was built in the 1800s. There's a 600-page engineering study done by the City of Ottawa that demonstrates that this bridge is fully intact, fully usable, and we've demonstrated with Transport Canada that this is considered legally an active railway. So technically and legally there is no reason not to use the bridge. In fact, today's O train is legally empowered to go across there. That's the existing documentation backing its certificate of fitness. We intend to run regional trains across that bridge, but then also out to each of the directions throughout the region, through Barrhaven, through Kanata, and so forth. Let's talk about some very simple arithmetic. What does this mean for someone riding the train? Well, if you're riding this train, instead of driving your car, we reckon that's going to be at least $600 in your pocket per year. It also means each train coach reduces by at least 1,200 cars, the number of cars cluttering, taking up space in downtown Ottawa. Simple arithmetic tells us, and we're happy to share this, that this means each day between 15,000 and 35,000 fewer cars downtown each day, and that's altogether in the region between $10 and $25 million of additional household savings region-wide. That's money in people's pockets. It also means, from a global point of view, over 70 tons per day of carbon emission reduction. That's per day. So per year, that's between 10 and 30,000 tons of carbon emission reduction by running this regional railway. Our property-powered rail model is based upon value for money, cost effectiveness, and return on investment. For people who live here, property-powered rail means a lifestyle that's easier and more efficient. It means travel time becomes useful time, and mobility actually contributes to economic development instead of blockages to mobility being a drain on economic development. What is required from government is not money. What's required is aligned decisions that are aligned in an interjurisdictional sense and aligned intersectorally. So let's connect the dots. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. Thank you everybody for coming. My name's Dr. Bill Pomfret. I'm the Managing Director of Safety Projects International. Without doubt, the most impressive aspect of this local election campaign was the Ottawa Light Rail Transit. Unfortunately, I believe that 95% of voters have never heard of it and know nothing about this very exciting project. I was shocked even to find out that as far back as November in 2013, City Council had a full detailed presentation outlining this project, yet it had not appeared in any of the two major newspapers. The fact that it will save over $1 billion in current infrastructure and many parts of the cities having to wait several years, especially where I am out in Kanata. The minimum we would expect any official or government paid employee would to be fully participate in all discussions and cooperate in every possible way to bring to fruition and make Canada's capital a model in transportation efficiency. Certainly every citizen, resident and voter has a right to expect that this light rail transit proposal will receive 100% attention through the local newspapers, television and radio stations. Every councillor and the mayor should want to leave a positive legacy of their time in public office. No other topic on the agenda is more serious or has a bigger impact to our city than this light rail transit proposal. The benefits to our city, not limited to, but substantially reduced infrastructure costs, reduced carbon footprint, massive cost reductions for commuters, increase in overall worker productivity, reduce citywide traffic congestion, full integration with the Ottawa Light Rail Transit with a substantially quicker payback on the OLRT investment, increased access to passengers wishing to travel to areas outside the National Capital Region, increased tourism and better access to regions and a more efficient means of travel, reduction of stress from commuting, last but not least, the preservation of Canada's rail infrastructure and assets. Thank you very much.